But, Nick, let's start with Seattle. What do you think? Can this team make a little noise in the postseason?
Absolutely. Absolutely they can. They're going to be the 5 seed. They can't win their division. So they are either going to be playing in the first round the Chicago Bears, who have a coach and a quarterback who have never won a playoff game, or the Dallas Cowboys, who have a coach who hasn't won a playoff game in years and a quarterback who's never won a playoff game. They have the reason Seattle should never rebuild in its current iteration and won't say they are rebuilding, they are retooling, they are reloading, whatever it is because they've got a top 5 coach and a top 5 quarterback. And even though yesterday Russell Wilson had his worst game of the year, to go along with it, the defense is now coming together. I know the Legion of Boom got all the headlines, but Bobby Wagner is a special football player. Bobby Wagner, it's not just a blocked field goal. He was all over the field last night playing every defensive snap. So, yes, this is a team that I don't think anyone wants to see come into their building in the wild card round of the playoffs.
Seattle, even since Pete Carroll's been there, it's nice to see him retool this team. He didn't have to rebuild, and when you have a quarterback, it makes it easier to make that transition from the team they used to be to the team we saw last night on the field. But this is also, I'm not going to overreact because the Vikings are a perfect matchup for Seattle because of the way the speed and movement of their defense against that poor offensive line, the Vikings' inability to run the ball or even attempting running the football, the least rushing attempts since the merger. I mean, 33% of their snaps, are only rushing attempts. So I don't know how you're going to win. It's not that conventional. I don't care how much they change the rules. When you don't run the ball like that and that crowd, that's the #1 home field advantage in the NFL since they opened that stadium. The number of illegal procedures, you cannot play sports effectively when you can't hear. There's so much communication that you have to have and your inability to be able to hear in that stadium. So I'm going to pump my brakes because they're going to have to, as a 5, they're going to have to go on the road.
Sure.
So on the road, look at Pete Carroll's record, even when they had better teams on the road. So I'm just going to be a little bit, yes, Pete Carroll's done a good job, but I'm just going to let me see those matchups. Where are they going? Because if they have to go, to a place,
Chicago or Dallas.
Okay, if they go to Chicago, like I like Chicago, especially in the cold. Now, they're in the great Northwest, but they don't get that type of cold there, and I don't believe that football team is prepared, especially to be able to try to advance it through the air. Doug Baldwin has been injured all of the year. He missed a lot of training camp, started the season, missed last night's game. So I don't believe without him, they're as effective. He's a really good football player, especially seasoned playoff veteran. So I'm just going to slow down just a little bit.
I just want to make my comments clear. I'm not saying Seattle now put them on Super Bowl watch, and I would not even saying I would pick them to go win that road playoff game. I am saying whoever draws them is going to be bummed about it. Whoever draws them is going to wish they got to the 3 line and got whichever team makes it out of the muck of these half-dozen teams fighting for the 6 seed. Seattle, to me, is a dangerous team, even though I agree about the home field advantage and limited, constricted offense at times.
They also have the momentum, having won 4 in a row. But I want to turn our attention now to the Vikings offense. Let's just play a little history for a second. Last year, the Vikings went, what was the record last year?
Last year, they were 13-3.
Who was their quarterback last year?
Case Keenum was their quarterback
last year. This year, they're not 13-3, and the guy they paid $84 million guaranteed to, Kirk Cousins, some would say has come up short, at least in games where he should have won or in big situations. What has gone so wrong for this Vikings offense and for Kirk Cousins?
For the people who think Kirk Cousins have come up short, call me, and I'll be able to get you straight. Because the way that defense is played, the way the special teams is played, you don't have no running game. If Case Keenum was there, they would have won 2 games. That's what they'd be sitting right now. All right? Because Kirk Cousins has thrown the football. Their passing game, especially Stephon Diggs and Thielen. There's some other reasons when you don't run the football, which I said before as far as rush attempts, 33% of they're only going to rush it, the lowest percentage since the merger. Like, how are you going to win a football game? The defense has not been a top 10 defense, which we had expected. So this is not Kirk Cousins. Don't blame it on the guy with the money. There's a lot of other guys being paid a lot of money out there, too, that no one's talking about. I don't think that their change from Pat Shurmur as an offensive coordinator to John DeFilippo now, because the lack of a tight end presence with Kyle Rudolph only having I think 48 catches, and Stephon Diggs having 88 and Thielen having 103. Do you think Kyle Rudolph is supposed to have 50-something less catches? Then no, he should be utilized more. They don't put him down the middle of the field. So there's some other things that have led to, all right, just don't follow the money. I mean, I watch every Vikings game. I watch how they attack people, and what Pat Shurmur did last year, it was amazing. Offensive line, not protecting Kirk Cousins the way they protected Case. Last year, Case at this time, 20 sacks. Right now, 32 sacks. So it's a different ball game year in and year out in the NFL.
I agree with you that it's inexplicable how little they're using Dalvin Cook. I don't understand. You said they're on pace for the fewest rushes since the merger, or the lowest percentage of rushes since the merger. That doesn't make sense. You are, A, you have a good running back. B, you don't have like a superstar, unbelievable Hall of Fame prime quarterback. Like, even if you think Kirk Cousins good, it doesn't make sense that this would be the team. The other teams on this list, it's like, oh, the 2016 Lions with no running game, the 2011 Lions with Megatron and no running. Like, you have an understanding. I think the run and shoot Oilers are on there at some point. They shouldn't be in this percentages. So I do lay some at the feet of John DeFilippo. But I also think the last 2 weeks, Kirk Cousins has come up short in huge spots. You were playing a game last week against the Patriots. You score 1 touchdown. And then we saw the Patriots.
Did you see that game plan? Did you see what they did? All they did was take away Thielen and Diggs. So that was his fault.
Well, I think that we can spread the blame around. I understand you don't like if people just say it's all on the quarterback.
Well, I know it's not on the quarterback. And when you see the way those game plans are put together, you see how effective he's been throwing the football. You seen the type of throws that Kirk Cousins made. There's more believers in Kirk Cousins. If you watch the games and see the quality of the throws that he makes, people are like, wow, I didn't believe his arm was that strong. Wow, I didn't think he could throw that. If you watch the games and everything, Kirk Cousins, to me, has won more people over when he was in Washington.
Okay, all right, then you and I are seeing that part differently, because he leads the NFL in turnovers. And in their last 2 games with, to me, the playoffs on the line, they against New England, a New England team that just got gashed by Ryan Tannehill, they scored 1 touchdown. And yesterday, they were shut out for 59 minutes of that football game. I don't think this is all on his feet. I think the lack of a running game is inexplicable, and the defense has regressed, as C was mentioning. But I don't think he's played to the level they expected this.
I don't think there's going to be a stat, but if you give me, I wish there was a track of the top quarterbacks. And what I'm going to do in November and December, I'm going to send them to Gillette, and then I'm going to send them up to Seattle. I wonder how many quarterbacks and what their numbers would have been going to those 2 places back to back. I don't think they'd be too much different than what Kirk Cousins has experienced the last 2 weeks.
All right, let's break there. Take a break coming up. Can the Cowboys make a Super Bowl run? Jerry.
And get